This is the Media Police Post from the Fort Hall School of Government. In this show, we police the state of truth in the Republic. And because truth is communicated to us by journalists and analysts, we have made it our civic duty to put it to the test. We advance from two confirmed truths about the media. One, and in the words of Roger Stone, the media is either lazy or evil. And for the most part, it is both evil and lazy. That is why the truth, their truth, must be put to a test. Two, another confirmed truth is that journalism is verified gossip. In fact, what is presented to us as news analysis is gossip that has been verified by journalists. This gossip has to be ground-truthed. We will monitor columnists, we will assess the state in what they submit to the Republic, and we will pass a verdict on what is true and what is not. For the record, we are not journalists, we are thinkers. We are not lazy or evil, and we do not verify gossip. What we give you is the truth that sets you free. On today's show, we will discuss either our favorite columns or thoughts of last week, or columns which reflect unformed and uninformed opinions, and columns that made you stupid. These are columns that fell into the cognitive trap of we see things as we are and not as they are, or that are based on conjuncture history, and lastly, ones that smack of envelope journalism. Welcome, Ms. KNCS. What are we looking at today?
Thank you.
Asante, this weekend we were treated to a supposed expose by Citizen TV titled Guns Galore and featuring one Purity Mwambia. Although the public was shocked and excited to hear that policemen hire out their guns, uniform, etc., the purpose of this expose was to make Uhuru Kenyatta's government look bad. The aim here is to manufacture anger and to fuel a paper tiger revolution. The truth, however, is that this illicit police activity, known properly as the bandit economy, was a creation of Mzee Moi through the symbiosis of police powers and criminal enterprise. And history will bear us witness because it is replete with numerous examples. For example, in 1997, you had a robbery occurring at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport when 160 million Kenya shillings, if you factor in inflation in today's terms, that's 1.2 billion Kenya shillings, was stolen from the Cargo Service Center strong room. Here's the kicker. The 5 gunmen involved in this theft were reported to have arrived at the airport in an official police Mahindra car.
Wow.
Also in the late 1990s, a detailed article was reported in the Standard highlighting how illicit arms would make it into the country, with bullets even being transported in jerrycans of oil. The journalist at the time even passed outside State House carrying a bazooka just to test the waters. Nothing happened. Also, there were the police carjackings that took place in the late 90s when cars worth almost 2 billion were stolen every year. In today's terms, that would be 10 billion Kenya shillings. The carjackings were coordinated by the police, and they would sell most of these cars in Tanzania. In fact, we might ask, how can you not end up with a bandit economy when you had Mzee Moi facilitating Mungiki with Land Rovers? Examples are numerous, but in sum, what President Moi oversaw was the creation of an environment where the illegal became the permissible. The police force has been a bastion of predators in bed with criminals since the Moi regime, and this unholy matrimony which birthed the bandit economy was fathered by him to achieve political ends, settle political scores, tighten his grip on power, and lubricate the cogwheels of his money machines. The bandit economy was created by Moi and nurtured by the Kibaki regime. Why would we now blame Uhuru for it? And whereas we're not suggesting that it is a good thing, any reasonable person would conclude that it is an illness that will take time to remedy. What is being sold to us now as an expose is not new. It is journalism devoid of context and history. And we would encourage our friend Purity Mwambia to read a book.
Read a book indeed. Thank you for that historical lesson. So Kenyans were angry this past weekend, so they tweeted that a revolution was beginning. And while I sympathize with those stuck in the roadblocks, I must tell the angry Kenyans that revolutions do not just happen. According to Eric Hoffer in his book True Believer, a true revolution has 3 stages, and each stage has a different leader. Stage 1 needs a man of words to start the process. Think Karl Marx, think Jesus Christ, think Martin Luther. The man of words prepares the ground for this revolution. Stage 2 is led by a fanatic to corral the public and excite them into organized action. Here, think Hitler and think Lenin. But the most important people in the revolution are those that lead in stage 3. These are the men of action. They bring structure and order to a revolution and turn activism into institutions with rules, rituals, and hierarchy. Uhuru Kenyatta is a man of action. He turned the activism of Canaan, or the Canaan Revolution, into BBI. He read between the lines and did what needed to be done. He understood that leadership was about vision, and he's trying to show Kenyans his vision for the country. But maybe Uhuru is thinking in Kikuyu and talking in English, and that's why the country is confused with a counterfeit revolution. Allow me to explain using Plato's famous allegory of the cave. There are prisoners chained together in a cave facing a wall. Behind the prisoners is a fire, and between the fire and the prisoners are people carrying objects. The objects cast a shadow on the wall, and the prisoners watch these shadows every day, believing them to be real. One prisoner becomes free. He turns around and sees the fire, then realizes that the shadows are fake. This prisoner escapes from the cave and discovers that there is a whole new world outside. This prisoner returns to free the other prisoners. Upon his return, he is blinded because his eyes are now not accustomed to the darkness in the cave. The chained prisoners, on the other hand, see this blindness and believe they will be harmed if they try to leave the cave. The prisoners react violently to this guy coming back and telling them of the outside world. Yet the outside world is far better. Kenyans are behaving like the prisoners in the cave. Uhuru is trying to drag them into the light, and they are reacting with this manufactured anger whilst sleeping through the actual revolution. Uhuru is asking us to undertake a difficult journey of transformation to a better Kenya, but we would rather stay in the dark than turn around and see the light.
I do agree with you, and I'd like to say something about this manufactured revolution. So today I'd like to tell you a story written by Washington Irving, an American short story writer and historian and diplomat, but the story was told best by Martin Luther King Jr. The story is about an American man called Rip Van Winkle. Now, Rip Van Winkle was a friendly but lazy farmer who fell asleep before 1776 and woke up 20 years later to a world that had changed in his absence. The thing most people usually remember about this story is that Rip Van Winkle slept 20 years. But according to Martin Luther King Jr., the most important lesson of the story is almost completely overlooked. When Rip went to sleep in 1776, the picture of King George III of England hung on the wall of the inn where he stayed. But when Rip woke up 20 years later, the picture on the wall was that of George Washington. So Rip Van Winkle not only slept for 20 years, he slept through the American Revolution. While he was peacefully sleeping, a revolution was taking place, and that revolution changed the course of history. But Rip knew nothing about it. He was asleep. So what is our point? A revolution is happening, and that revolution is BBI. But just like Rip Van Winkle, most of the country is sleeping through the revolution. And in their sleep, they're having dreams of a paper tiger revolution taking place on Twitter and Facebook. By the time they wake up, the real revolution through BBI will have happened. And the picture of the Ferrari presidency in this story would have been replaced by a Matatu presidency. The course of political history in Kenya will have changed, but they will know nothing about it because they are asleep.
I like that. The revolution will not be tweeted.
No,
or
this revolution will not be Facebooked or tweeted or TikToked.
There you have it. Have a lovely evening. Columnists, we're putting you on watch.